but I was so happy and happy for him. He can fight anyone. He with that mentality, he can fight anyone and beat.
Canelo Alvarez has finally provided his prediction for the Ryan Garcia versus Rolly Romero fight. Before this, Ryan had already hinted that Canelo expressed confidence in him, telling him personally that he would beat Rolly without question. Now, after watching some of Ryan's latest training videos, Canelo is doubling down, publicly saying the same thing. Ryan Garcia is simply the better man to Canelo. Ryan's speed, sharpness, and timing are levels above what Rolly can handle. And even though the two have had their public disagreements in the past, Canelo sees this one clearly. Garcia is walking out victorious.
In boxing, so when I got offered that, I said, okay, I'm the man to do it. And I think after this performance, I'll submit myself as, one of the faces of.
Ryan Garcia himself is seeing no humor when it comes to his plans for Rolando Romero. While Garcia admitted that Rolly is naturally funny, great for comic relief outside the ring, he has now made it absolutely clear that once the bell rings, there will be nothing funny happening. Ryan says that Friday night is the night he's going to end Rolly's boxing career once and for all. He believes Rolly is already on borrowed time, and that this fight is just the final nail in the coffin, a brutal knockout that sends him into retirement and makes people remember him more for his jokes than his jabs.
Try too much, Rolly's gonna give you everything you want, so kind of just gonna let the fight come to me, and then I'm gonna take over. I'm a better fighter all around, so I feel like it's gonna show in the fight.
For his part, Rolly Romero seems aware that he's not getting a half-baked Ryan Garcia. He knows he's going to have to deal with a fired-up, focused version of the man who has made millions tune in with just a single Instagram post. Romero made it clear during a round talk with Todd Gisham that he's happy about it, saying straight up that he wants no excuses. He wants the best Ryan Garcia because he wants the win to be real, not tainted by he wasn't 100% talk afterwards. Romero knows he's fighting an uphill battle, especially considering the massive 9-1 odds stacked against him. But he's leaning into the chaos like he always does, still carrying that blind self-confidence that some admire and others laugh.
Are you that you can beat Ryan?
Oh, I mean, shit, I'm the most confident fighter in the damn world. I'm gonna always,
What's it take to beat him?
Gotta crack him just, right there.
However, Romero is still Romero. His amateur record is a fraction of Garcia's. Garcia fought around 240 amateur matches, and Rolly is just 35. His pro style is rough around the edges, almost cartoonish at times, and he's lost 2 of his last 4 by TKO. Sure, the losses were to beasts like Tank Davis and Pitbull Cruz, but to many pros, Romero is a fighter who's more famous for saying wild things than for clean technical boxing. Even he knows it deep down. He said himself that he doesn't worry about making the fight exciting because he is exciting by nature. He's confident against me. So I think we're going to see a good fight, but ultimately I'm going to knock him out. But at some point, especially against a fighter with Garcia's pop and speed, excitement without fundamentals becomes a ticket to getting knocked out cold. The whole card is being hyped as an epic night with Teofimo Lopez also fighting Arnold Barbosa Jr. And Lopez didn't hesitate to give his 2 cents about the Garcia versus Romero fight. Teofimo thinks Ryan stops Rolly late after dragging him into deep waters. Lopez respects Garcia's layoff, but believes the talent and sharpness are just too much. And really, how can you argue when you see the difference between the two? Garcia moves like a sniper. Romero looks like he's trying to solve a Rubik's Cube mid-fight.
Rolly's a big dude. Obviously, he has that power. Ryan has that right hook.
Yep.
So, who do you got?
I got Ryan. I got Ryan Garcia.
Why?
Yeah, I just think that from that fight and since then, he hasn't been fighting for that long of a period, and then being stopped the way he was. I think he might be changing trainers, or he might still be with Salas, but even then, but I think it's going to be a great matchup. I think Ryan needs to be careful with Rolly's punching power, because Rolly still got power, man, and definitely could.
Still, some pros are not completely sleeping on Rolly, as weird as his style. is it has some awkward charm that sometimes freezes better fighters. Plus, he's got the classic puncher chance, that old school hope that maybe, just maybe, he lands the one shot that changes everything. But that's a lottery ticket kind of hope, not a strategy, and Ryan Garcia seems way too locked in for wishful thinking to matter this time, so it seems.
So it seems like most people have Rolly Romero losing to Ryan Garcia in their upcoming fight. At the very least, I think he truly has a puncher's chance. And you have Tank, who faced him, who is actually vouching for his punching power.
He can hit, bro. Like, he can hit. But he's the only person I felt like, when he swung, it felt like bricks was in wood. It felt like it's really like.
Interestingly, this fight is more than just about titles or records. Oscar de la Hoya made it clear he sees Ryan Garcia as the guy to take over the U.S. boxing throne from Canelo. Alvarez. De la Hoya is saying that if Ryan beats Romero impressively, then beats Haney in their planned rematch, and maybe even takes out someone like Jiren Boots, and afterward, he could become bigger than Canelo in America. That's a wild statement, because Canelo, for all his flaws, is still boxing royalty. But the truth is Canelo's recent fights haven't been thrilling. He's playing it safe, fighting lesser names, and it's making people look around for the next guy who makes boxing feel dangerous again. De la Hoya thinks Ryan could be that guy because, love him or hate him, Garcia moves the needle.
Rolly's a big puncher though, too.
Yeah, he's a big puncher, but when I think about Rolly's Ryan, I think about De La Hoya Mayorga.
Yeah, someone else had told me, Rosado had told me that he thinks the same way. Why?
Well, you have big punchers who throw, those are easy to block. All you got to do is be calm, stay collective, and do your job. That's it. So I think Ryan, it's going to be a fun, short fight. It's going to be a fun 4-round fight.
Of course, this prediction is dripping with controversy. First off, some hardcore boxing purists think De La Hoya is totally out of touch. They argue that Garcia is an Instagram fighter who hasn't truly beaten an elite opponent, yet beating Rolly Romero, a guy with technical holes the size of Times Square potholes, won't magically crown him the king of boxing. Some even believe that De La Hoya's just hyping Ryan because he needs a star for Golden Boy Promotions to stay relevant after losing Canelo from his stable years ago. Oscar's been desperate to find the next meal ticket, and Ryan with his huge social.
They can do some damage. And Ryan Garcia, look, he's coming off, it's going to be about a year now. He's hungry. He's hungry to get on top. He's hungry.
On the other side, you have pros who buy into the hype. They say that if Ryan comes back from a career-dealing scandal, knocks out Romero, then avenges his loss to Haney, all while looking like the human highlight reel he was meant to be, he could absolutely become the next crossover superstar. Canelo may have Mexico and the hardcore boxing fans, but Ryan has the youth, the internet, and the it factor that sponsors and TV networks love. It's messy, it's polarized, and it's exactly the kind of conversation boxing needs right now.
Quick question, how's everybody doing? Haven't talked to you guys in a while. Hope that everybody's doing good.
Yeah, everyone's having a blessed day. Rolly, we coming.
My abilities are much better than his. I think he's going to come hard to fight because it's a great opportunity. He's confident. So I think we're going to see a good fight. But ultimately, I'm going to knock him out, said Ryan Garcia to Ring Magazine. Garcia doesn't seem like a man expecting any surprises, just a man who knows exactly what's about to happen. When asked about Rolly's evolution since their old sparring days, Ryan couldn't have been more dismissive. Not really, I see him making the same mistakes. Garcia said, clearly unimpressed. He pointed out something even harsher, that Rolly's chin has gotten weaker over time, a brutal but honest assessment from someone who once shared rounds with him.
Made that many adjustments, to be honest. Still making a lot of the same mistakes, still kind of fighting the same. His chin actually looks like it's gotten.
When asked about the probability of a knockout, Garcia didn't hesitate probability-wise. Yeah, 90%. Commentator Sergio Mora sees the upcoming clash the same way. Although he wasn't willing to call a clear winner, Mora told Little Giant Boxing that he believes both Ryan and Rolly are too explosive. Too flawed defensively for the fight to last long, Mora emphasized that predicting the actual winner was tricky, because both men have been hurt before. Ryan's last true encounter with a power puncher was back in December 2023 against Oscar Duarte. Since then, he's mostly faced lighter hitters, like Devin Haney, who for all his skill has never been known for serious knockout power. Mora seemed to hint that Garcia might not be fully ready for a chaotic, heavy-hitting brawl.
With Haney, so he has a lot to prove and rectify with his not only his style but his image. You know, he has to come back and prove that he can do everything without the issues that he had, the PEDs thing, whether it was true or not. So not only does he have to clean his image, he has to kind of convince people that he's still a power punching, fast, popular fighter that can do it on the big stage, and he's in there against a fighter that's going to give him other opportunities. And Romero comes to knock people out. You know, he has some holes in his defense. I think it's going to be a short, explosive fight where either of them could get hurt.
Still, Mora didn't dance around what he expected to happen when Ryan predicted that he would get Raleigh out of there by the 4th round. Mora said he would give it 5 rounds at most. That fight doesn't go into the second half. Too much firepower, too many defensive flaws. As well from both of these guys, Mora said he was confident that May 2nd will not be a night for drawn-out decisions. In fact, he predicted that every fight on the Times Square card will end by knockout, except for Teofimo Lopez versus Arnold Barbosa Jr. Mora expects that one to go the distance, but still be razor close.
The fight doesn't go into the second half. Too much firepower, you know, too much defensive flaws as well from both these guys. So yeah, man, I think it ends under 5 or 6 rounds easily, but it's gonna be exciting. See, all these fights are gonna end in knockout except one of them. I think Teofimo Lopez and Barbosa.
12?
I think that one goes the full distance, and it's gonna be a close fight. I think that one is on paper the best, most competitive 50-50 type fights. The other one,
Rolly Romero Mora also touched on something a lot of people have avoided: Ryan Garcia's need to redeem himself after the disaster of his no contest against Ian Haney, where he tested positive for Austerin. He not only has to clean his image, but convince people that he's still a power-punching fast fighter that can do it on the big stage. Mora said this isn't just a fight for Ryan Garcia's comeback. It's a referendum on whether the public can believe in him again. Prograis sees it differently. To him, Ryan Garcia versus Rolly Romero is a mess waiting to happen, and he means that in both a good and bad way.
They sparred and Rolly bullied him. Rolly bullied him to the point Ryan was leaking. Go watch that sparring video. His power is definitely legit. Both of them.
He ain't no scrub.
But
you think he gonna be walking Garcia down all fight?
He definitely gonna be trying to. I'm saying Rolly Romero gonna go in this fight trying to bully him.
Yeah.
He gonna try to come out fast because Ryan is not somebody you want to try to let get in the rhythm.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and he got a good reach. You ain't trying to
really
let him keep him at distance.
When asked about it by Mill City Boxing, Prograis admitted that predicting the outcome was almost pointless. Rolly and Ryan, I saw the sparring footage. I think that's actually not a predictable fight, because both of them are so wild and both can land punches, said Prograis. He even went further, recalling how Rolly had gotten the better of Ryan during those infamous sparring sessions. Rolly was beating Ryan in the gym. Prograis emphasized that Rye's wildness makes him dangerous in ways that aren't easy to prepare for. Sometimes it's hard to time and fight somebody like that, he said, suggesting that conventional skill doesn't always beat reckless chaos. But even with that, Prograis leans toward Ryan because of his big fight experience and natural talent, especially his left hook. I would go with Ryan, but I'm not counting Rolly out, he said, making it clear that he doesn't trust Ryan enough to dismiss the possibility of an upset.
But I still think he's going to lose his fight.
You think Garcia's going to lose?
Yeah, I'll go with Rolly Romero for sure. That dude's pretty locked in, man.
Yeah.
I think Rolly Romero's going to just, I think that'll be an easy dub.
Have you watched them fight before?
Which one? Both of them?
Because this is not it's not like a
It's not like they never fought. It's not like Prograis has a lot of love for Raleigh anyway. He once called Raleigh a trash fighter and openly said Raleigh was the least deserving champion when he controversially won the WBA title against Ismael Barroso in 2020. A lot of pros agreed at the time, viewing Raleigh's win as a robbery. But even so, Raleigh has managed to stay relevant at least enough to get a lucrative fight with Garcia. Since then, he's picked up a unanimous decision win over Manuel Jaimes to get back on track, but no one really sees that as momentum worth mentioning.
Skills alone, boxing knowledge alone, who would you pick to be the winner?
I would pick probably Ryan.
Okay, and how do you think do you think Ryan's speed is a match for Rolly's punch?
I think Ryan has extremely fast hands, and he has a tremendous left hook. And that's his bread and butter.
Adding another layer to the chaos is the October goal. Turki Alalshik has made it clear winners from the May 2nd card get the biggest fights, and October losers not so much. That's a ton of pressure, especially for Garcia, who not only needs to win, but needs to do it impressively to keep the Haney rematch and everything that comes with it on the table. Mora said it plainly, he's in there with a fighter who is going to give him a lot of opportunities in Rolly Romero. That statement cuts both ways. Opportunities can turn into disasters if you're not sharp enough to take advantage.
How do you see the fight going against Rolly?
Just like what Ryan says, I see him knocking him out. I mean, Rolly's going to come to fight. There's no doubt about that, but I see Ryan knocking him out.
With the left hook, or what are you predicting?
Left hook, right hand. Ryan's going to come throwing.
Prograis also made a brutal point about Ryan's controversial win over Haney. Even if you strip away the failed drug test, the fact remains that Garcia dropped Haney 3 times and looked like the stronger fighter that night. We can say whatever was in his system, but that fight still happened, said Prograis. And he's right, no matter what came afterward, the physical beatdown was real. Now, the question is whether Garcia can repeat that kind of performance cleanly with no question marks hanging over.
Going up to 147, there's many possibilities. There's the possibility of him having a better chin, which I'm not sure if he's going to have a better chin. There's probably the possibility of him being faster, stronger at 147. But him moving up to 147, the only thing I think that he's really going to get is him having a better chin, because at 140, he was getting hurt multiple times. His last fight, he didn't get hurt. He's a little bit, if I'm being...
Stevenson isn't interested in overcomplicating the issue. When asked who wins between Garcia and Raleigh, Stevenson didn't hesitate for a second. Ryan Raleigh is not that good. Ryan is a better boxer. Stevenson told Co-Artist Sports it was a scathing dismissal of Romero's abilities. Stevenson didn't even bother with technical analysis. In his view, Raleigh simply isn't on Ryan's level, and the only real outcome is a knockout win for King Rye. I can see a knockout, Stevenson said bluntly.
I put up a poll. Is Ryan going to KO Rolly, or is Rolly going to KO Ryan? It was like 95% Ryan going to KO Rolly. That means it's not a good fight. That's not good. That's not good. When 95% says Ryan going to knock out something, then that's not good. You want fights where it's like, I don't know. When I put up the poll, Virgil Ortiz beats Madrimov, Madrimov beats Ortiz, it's like 50-50. Now we're talking. It's a good fight.
Still, the wild card remains Raleigh's unpredictability. More Prograis and even Garcia himself acknowledge it. Raleigh might not be technically polished, but he's awkward, he's aggressive, and he's willing to take 2 shots to land 1. Sometimes that's enough, especially against a fighter like Garcia, who has been clipped and dropped before.